Our guys are very well trained. We've made that a priority through the years, and we're very proud of that fact. The firemen, if they're not responding to a call or something, it seems like the majority of the time that's what they're actually doing. They're actually doing some form of training, because they do more than just put out fires now, because they're paramedics also. It's just that much better for the citizens and everything else, knowing that you have that level of expertise responding when there's a critical incident. Again, seconds count.
I got into the fire service because my father had been a volunteer on Rochester's fire department for several years. I volunteered there for about 4 years before I got hired on in Taylorville. I've been there for about 2.5 years now. I was actually coming off of work at a second job where I work at Taylorville Memorial Hospital's ER, and I walked outside to warm up my car, and I noticed heavy smoke coming from the residence directly across the parking lot. I went back inside, got someone to call 911, ran across the parking lot, started banging on the door and yelling to see if anyone was home. The door was an outward swinging door, and I actually pulled the handle off of the door trying to get it open. Eventually, the homeowner came to the door, and she was so lethargic and kind of out of it that she actually asked me why I was banging on her door. And come to find out later on, she had to walk through a room that was right next to a room that was completely on fire. There was no door or anything, so she was so out of it, she didn't even recognize that her house was heavily involved in fire. Got her out, found out there wasn't anyone else inside the structure, closed the door, and went actually to the neighbor's house. It had started taking radiant heat damage, and the siding started melting off of that. So I banged on the door there and got her out as well, woke her up, and she came to the door. About that time, I started to walk towards the back of the structure, where I noticed heavy flames coming from the rear of the initial house, and I heard the siren from the engine from the duty crew coming. I ran over, met them, gave them a report of what was going on, that all the occupants were accounted for, and hit a hydrant for them to allow the guys that were on shift to make entry a little bit quicker.
The lady there is very fortunate. It was Kyle that happened to be walking by. A lot of people may have handled that differently. I mean, it might be one of those things where some people would go to the extreme, that's not my business, I've got enough stuff in my own life, and they'd walk on. Some people, not understanding how fire works, might have said, hey, I've got time to walk home and make a call, and if I don't hear any sirens in a few minutes, then I'll report it. And Kyle recognized it for what it was, responded immediately, and I think that lady's very glad he did.
It wasn't something that was me, it was just happening to be in the right place at the right time, just by God's sake, and having the right training, I guess, to go ahead and try and make a difference for. And I don't think there's a whole lot of question that had there not been as quick of a response as there was by the duty crew and by at least someone waking her up, that she probably would have been injured, had not died in that fire.
It's become almost expected of these guys. They do this on a daily basis in some form, it seems like. And Kyle, he's one, he put his head down, and he was almost very sheepish about it when anyone tried to congratulate him on it, because in his mind, again, it was just, it's second nature to me, is what Kyle thought. He says, I didn't do anything special. What else would you do in that situation? But again, we're very thankful he was there, and he knew what to do, and he did respond. He's not a firefighter who's a hero. He's a hero who happens to be a firefighter. There's a lot of people who rise to that occasion and do what needs to be done. And he's one of those rare people that do that. And that's why we call them heroes.
I feel good that I was able to do something. It's something that when you kind of get into this job, it's one of the things that initially you aspire to want to do. And people just don't get that type of chance very often, and being as young as I am, to have a chance to make that dramatic of a difference in someone's life immediately, it's humbling and rewarding at the same time.